a creep factor on the dolls. And if you look them up, I think it's longgonedolls.com maybe.
Yeah, I believe that's right.
But if you go in there, she custom makes all these different dolls, and she made us one of Shadow, our Reaper mascot. And we kind of came around, take some pictures of the different locations and all, send them to her.
Yeah, but we're going back up there in probably a couple of months. We're going to do a 2-night investigation. First night or second, I don't remember. We're also going to Prospect Place, which Terry is going to join us on, and we're going to do it the first night, and then second night we'll be in Newark, Ohio, at Licking County jail there. I mean, it's really cool.
Wow! Now this place with where they had the gallows and all the executions. Mm-hmm. Did you ever check and see how many executions they actually, carried out there? Right.
It was, the documentation is sketchy on it, but we have, according to historians and everything in there, the best we can pinpoint is around 212. But we don't know for sure because, a lot of times they didn't. I don't know if they've lost a lot of it. There's just not that much information available, as to how many actually there. It was a few hundred that were carried out in there, and at that place too. Now the supervisors have their offices inside there, and some of the deputies, they won't set foot in there. They have to patrol it and everything else, and and they hate even going to it. Some of them won't go past the threshold.
Now, did they tell you why they don't like going in there?
One, we actually got an interview the last time from one of the deputies, and they'd go outside and smoke a cigarette or whatever, and they would hear doors slamming in there. They've heard piano music, era, type music other times, and they all kinds of strange noises coming out of the place, and they've seen lights in there as well, so.
Lady that actually sets up the hunts and all that works for the Adams County supervisors, Lady Corbett. I was calling her to set up the times and all that stuff and make sure we were still set the week before, and kind of joking with us, like, you gonna come back and go in with us? Like, shoot, no, I ain't coming back in there at night. So I hear and see too much stuff during the daytime. I sure ain't going back in the night.
So they actually built offices in that same area where the supervisors have their offices?
Yeah, they kind of, I guess, remodeled some of the inside. I guess more or less maybe the booking area. I'm sure the kitchen.
Yeah, the courtroom's in one side of it, and then they have all the offices. Some of the offices and something kind of like a conference room toward the back, and the gallows are just right above it. That's where the bodies would drop, is where the conference room is.
Wow. I would,
doors and all that are still there.
The emotions that, that those cells and the room where the gallows, it had to have been so much. I think that would be so rich in getting what you guys are looking for. People being
we consider basically stained.
Yeah, being so scared about, I'm sure, unless somebody's not in their right mind, knowing that they're going to be executed, that is so bad as it is. And the emotion for that. But then, like I said earlier, watching one after another, till it's your turn, Yeah,
the anticipation and the thoughts that go through your head right before anything, watching that, yeah. That's what we have always thought. We tried. Anyone's going to try to go to the ones that have the darkest history. And it seems like those are the ones that are stained with the emotions, the, trauma, or anything, old hospitals, the emergency rooms, It's very few and far between you're going to catch, extremely good evidence. And something like that, I just think it holds more of a chance with that much
negativity.
Yeah, I guess I don't really know the words I'm looking for, but it just seems like it puts a stain on the environment at that location. If it can soak up any of the energy that's there, then it can repeat itself, possibly.
Now, are you guys ever scared when you go into a place like that and you leave? You might have something like follow you back home or whatever?
No.
Me, I don't. I mean, most of the time when I'm leaving, getting ready to leave, I'll make one last check, make sure we got everything, and I'll, address whatever spirits are there to make sure, like, look, you got to stay here. You can't come home with us.
And we have our resident holy man, which is Kyle Davis. And if we have any folks that are with us, we carry, guests and everything along. And if they're a little worried, then, he'll sit down and pray with them and, kind of ease their mind, that, they're not going to carry something home with them. And, for the most part, when you tell them, put it, take charge of it and say, you're not going, with a few exceptions, but I mean, you're not gonna have anything.
Well, the reason why I asked you that, I've had a couple psychics on my show, a couple well-known ones, and they said that they've been in some situations where, it was bad, and they left, and the next thing they knew that whatever it was followed them home, and they actually, had to basically get their house cleansed because a lot of strange things started going on.
That's what I say with a few exceptions. I have had an experience before at a graveyard, and when I came back to my home, I've got 2 pets that I had 7 years, and both of them are just docile, and when I came back from that location and I put the first recorder in and started playing it, one viciously attacked the other one. I mean, to the point it was 2 or 3 days. I ended up carrying it to the vet, and they ended up putting it on Prozac. So, and thank goodness now, they're better and they're not having to take it. But it's never happened before, and, it's just kind of odd that happened immediately after coming back,
Well, you guys actually been pretty lucky then, because the one I'm really thinking about, it got to the point where she came home, like the next day, she woke up and she had like scratches down her leg, and her boyfriend said, "Hey, why are you doing this to you?" And she goes, "I didn't do it." And I had him on the show too, and at the same time, and she said then all of a sudden she started getting scratches where it was bleeding down her arm. And he saw it, and it just happened. I mean, right there, That's what I think sometimes, like, when you guys go out, you never know if you risk, bringing something back with you to your family, to your house, or, whatever.
Yeah, maybe we have been lucky. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't happen or anything like that. I mean, we have had one of our, I don't even know if Donald knows it, but one of our members had confided to me that after he went to one of the things that he kept seeing shadows around his house and different things like that.
Yeah.
Well, how long did you know how long he had that effect? Did this matter of a few days, or did it last longer than that, or what did he have to do to get rid of it?
He never came back with it on. He was from out of town. He doesn't live in the same town we do, and anyway, we never heard any more out of it. So, I mean, it wasn't harmful or anything. It was just the shadows that he would see in his house.
Well, I know I wouldn't want to see any shadows in my house moving around. I'll tell you that. So, I'm not brave like you guys. I mean, to go into like, old prisons or, jails or, I still tell you guys should go, if you can get into a mortuary. I just got a funny feeling.
Oh, yeah.
It would be so rich in getting, information out of it. I just feel that, because a lot of people they die, they don't know they're dead, and they might be looking at their body for a day or two while they're figuring out where to go.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's when the veil between death and life is at its thinnest. That's good. But it has to be the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to your soul, and you may be confused at the time, not knowing what's going on. And so
I don't know.
Yeah, you're right.
I had a guest on months and months ago, that she had an operation, and actually, it's all documented. She died on the table, and the doctors were giving up on her. They tried bringing her back, and she said she was actually, floating, up on the ceiling, basically, looking down at her body. She heard the music they were playing, because they had, I guess, playing music while they were doing the operation. She remembered part of their conversation, and then all of a sudden, she came back to life, and that was kind of really eerie. So it makes you wonder, that, well, is that a near-death experience? Or actually, she was actually dead. So it'd be really hard. I mean, you die, and all of a sudden, you're looking at yourself, and it takes maybe some time to realize, hey, is that me?
Yeah, that reminded me of one. I had a friend that I grew up with. They lived in Silas, and they would cross the railroad tracks. Used to be active and everything at that time, and their truck was, T-boned by one of the trains and drugged down the track and everything. Him and his father was in it, and they had to cut both of them out of the vehicle, and they didn't expect either one to live. But both of them remembered the operating room and watching the doctors operate on them. And they, I'm not sure of the length of time, but they weren't pronounced dead, but they had passed before they were brought back. And they actually told the doctors some of the things that happened while they were like that, in that state. So,
yeah, that's eerie. I don't want to die. I don't want to find any of this out. Yeah, I don't know if I told you this little story or not when you were on before, but my father had Alzheimer's, and before he actually had Alzheimer's, he had dementia, and he got to the point that he didn't know who anybody was, and then the last year he was alive, he was no more than a vegetable. He was, in fact, the last couple of months he was on life support pretty much. And the doctors, kept trying to get me and my brother to, they said the humane thing would do to disconnect, anything that's assisting keeping him alive. And the funny thing is, I was told his brain was totally gone. I mean, there was nothing basically left of it. All of a sudden I get a phone call. And now he was in one of these advanced nursing homes where they basically terminal people go and, whatever. I get this phone call that, hey, your dad is out of it. And he wants to see you.
Back.
He came back. So, I mean, I had to drive from like Tacoma, Washington, over to Shelton, Washington, where he was at. I get there, he's sitting up in his bed. And, he knew who I was. We had a good conversation. And then he started talking about my mom, who died several years before, that. And, he was saying, well, I've been talking to your mom. I can't wait to be with her. I'm going to be with her, today. And then he started talking about my uncles. They all died young. One of them was killed in the Navy. One of them got killed at a job where somebody opened up a ramp thing, and he fell and got killed that way. But anyway, he was talking about he was talking to them all, and he was telling me how nice it is on the other side. But he was totally coherent. He was asking me about if I, was doing the same type of business I was doing. We had this whole nice conversation for about an hour. And then he said to me, son, I want you to leave. I'm going to die now.
Really?
Yeah. And the doctor said, well, hey, I don't think he's going to die, but, maybe you should leave now because, that was a big strain on your father. Well, before I got back home, when I got home, I found out he died a few minutes after I left.
Wow. When I was younger, my grandfather lived with us at our house. Basically, he grew up. We moved here. And he come and moved in with us, and he lived with us till he was 90 years old. and he suffered from Alzheimer's his last year.